Coming up on the DLLS Mavs pregame show, it's a Western Conference Final rematch as your Mavericks take on Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. All that you need to know ahead of tonight's rematch in Minnesota. Coming up here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single night. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, and of course at Bobby Carella. You can always dial up the Stein line for our national NBA insider, Mark Stein. It is the rematch. Your Mavericks taking on Anthony Edwards in the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road on the second night of a home road back-to-back. What you need to know, who's in, who's out, the X factors, Bobby's scouting report as well. We'll get that all covered for you over the next 30 minutes as we lead you to tip-off between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the video while you're here as we get ready for the Mavericks taking on the Timberwolves. Good vibes tonight for the Mavericks coming off a win last night, Tim. Looking forward to hopefully another win for this Mavericks team tonight.
You know, if I was paid a lot of money to play the sport of basketball, I would simply win every game.
At least attempt to win every game. That would be a good strategy.
Well, it's my job.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would just do that. It doesn't look that hard.
To you, it's not that hard?
It doesn't look that hard.
Okay, well, let's see you get out there and play for about 15 minutes and see how that goes for you.
No.
Bob is like, shut that down. Not at all.
It's the second night of a back-to-back. Kevin, Tim, and Tanner, we were here last night, burning the midnight oil, covering the win against the Jazz. Mavs went on the road. They're up in the Arctic tundra of Minnesota now. It's going to be a tough night for them. They're going to be a little tired. But I feel like I can relate to NBA players right now because the sun is reflecting off a building right there directly into my face right now.
I was wondering why you were glowing a little more than usual. I get it now.
It's really tough, but I'm going to persevere just like I hope the guys do on the court tonight. There's been no drugs. I really need caffeine, though.
Which is a drug.
So, I need some.
So, yeah, it has literally been no drugs.
I need drugs.
Yeah.
No.
Shout out to Ardell in the chat. Super chat Ardell. Cato, all he does is win.
Wait, Dr. Pepper has caffeine in it?
Never mind. Game number 4 of 82 tonight between the Mavericks as the Mavericks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Both teams 2-1 coming into tonight's matchup. Bobby, it's going to be okay. I know you're going to work it out. Here. Timberwolves are a 5.5-point favorite tonight as Dwayne Wade's massive statue noggin blinds the sun for Bobby Carella.
At least it's useful for something. Y'all can see this. Like, look at how... Oh, I almost... said it.
Yep, you almost said it.
Look how bright this is. It's unbelievable.
Wait, what word were you even going to say?
Look how freakishly bright it is.
Oh, yep. Freakishly.
Let's talk some basketball.
Maybe if you get a pair of Shady Rays, you can, buy.
I should have brought my Shady Rays.
What are some other adjectives that start with F?
We're not going to get into any of those right now.
Well, fiendish, would that be an adverb?
What?
If it's fiendishly would be the adverb.
Basketball.
As Tim
I swear to God, my job is actually words.
Yeah, no, really. Not the way that you're acting right now, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Storylines for tonight's game as the Mavericks take on the Timberwolves. Mavericks coming off a bounce-back win over the Utah Jazz last night, 110-102.
Wait, can I briefly defend myself to Sarah, who was asking who doesn't know Dr. Pepper has caffeine? I don't drink a lot of soda anymore, but now that I don't drink a lot of soda, I think of like caffeine being coffee or energy drinks, and I think sodas are just sodas. I guess because I drink like Fritos and like the Mexican sodas, and those are not caffeine. So sometimes I forget that actual sodas like Dr. Pepper. Does Sprite have caffeine?
No, Sprite does not have caffeine.
But Dr. Pepper does, and Coca-Cola does.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to defend myself real quick. That's where the line of logic came from.
You have a machine in your hand that
you could literally
tell
look
you
that
all
up.
this information.
No, I'm phoneless.
Okay. The Timberwolves last play.
It's never far away from me. Don't worry.
on Saturday, where they won 112 to 101 over Toronto. Both teams 2-1 coming into the game tonight. Of course, the Western Conference Finals rematch from last year, where the Mavericks dispatched of the said Timberwolves in 5 games en route to their first NBA Finals since 2011. Mavericks coming in on the second night of a home road back-to-back, looking for their second straight win. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves have won 2 straight games after losing on opening night to LeBron and company and the Los Angeles Lakers. Initial storylines for tonight's game that you guys are going to be paying attention to.
I mean, Luka against the Wolves again. And Luka, honestly, it's 2 things. Luka going up against a team that he wants to show out against. That's true against a lot of teams in the NBA, but not everyone. You will see Luka not quite the same locked in, dialed in, I guess what I mean is, like, you won't always see, you're not going to see Luka's killer mode necessarily against the Pelicans on a Tuesday night. On a Tuesday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, after he sucked out Rudy Gobert's soul, that is more likely. Another thing that is very likely is that when Luka
Bobby was terrified on where that was headed.
When Luka has a horrendous game, he's got a bigger chip on his shoulder than any player you've ever seen in the NBA, and he wants to go show that he is still Luka. And so I think the culmination of those 2 factors may lead to just a monstrous Luka night tonight. I think that's very possible. Like, he got off to such a bad start. I was texting with Austin Guerrilla, my old podcast co-host. We need to get him on at some point soon. Austin, we agree with that?
Yeah.
But he said something that I thought was really smart, that Luka doesn't know how to play when he's playing poorly. Like, he just leans into doing more, like doing the most, and he just keeps doubling down on it. And I think that he kind of got caught in like a spiral of Luka-ism, like Luka trying to, just will himself out of a bad shooting stretch in last night's game. And I think that just starting strong for the reasons, the Minnesota reasons, and for the just coming off a horrific game reasons, I think there's a good chance we see a really good Luka. One more stat, very briefly, if I can continue this monologue. Mm-hmm. In my story last night, some observations. Join as a diehard to go read it. But the observations, the story I wrote after last night's win against the Utah Jazz, I kept seeing, and I've seen for 3 games now, a lot of rim outs, right? A lot of shots that are going in and out, hitting every part of the rim, and then they don't fall in. So I looked it up. Luka currently leads the league, tied for league, per some second spectrum data that I looked up, of misses from inside of the rim. So basically a rim out. I don't know exactly how they track that. I'd be curious, like the exact specific.
Who gets paid to do that job?
It's robots. It's
they're coming to replace us all.
Second Spectrum is the company that has all the cameras in the rafters of the roof.
Got it.
And so it's all automated.
Terrifying.
But the point, the point is, like, these are shots that were inside the frame of the rim and did not go in. Luka leads the league. Dallas is second in the league, 15 per game at rim out misses this season. So if you're looking for a reason that Dallas and the offense, even though it's been a little sluggish, if you're looking for a reason that maybe there's some better luck coming their way, yes, they have been on the wrong side of a lot of shots that were almost in, but did not quite go in. One scary thing, the team atop that list per game, rim, inside the rim misses, the Thunder.
Okay.
Like Thunder are 3-0 and looking, are they 4-0 now? They're looking sensational, and it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, maybe they could also be better.
The Mavs this year, 7th best quantified shot quality, basically like putting a number to the value of your shot. If an average player took this shot, what would they shoot on this? Effective field goal percentage-wise, 7th best in the league. So they're getting, despite some ugly stuff, despite some sluggish, despite not a lot of dunks, despite not a lot of stuff in transition, they're still getting really good looks. But they are 6th worst in the league at effective field goal percentage. Okay. So there's quite a large chasm between what they should be shooting and what they are shooting. You can beat the Wolves and the Spurs, or you can beat the Jazz and the Spurs, sorry, shooting much worse than you should. You cannot beat the Suns that way, and you definitely can't beat the Wolves that way on the second night of back-to-back. So, I'm looking for fewer rim outs. I'm looking for guys using their legs when they shoot and not just flinging it off the front of the rim. I'm looking for hopefully anyone making a layup after what we saw in Phoenix. Like, it's going to be tough, and Gobert makes it tough on you. The Wolves are good defensively. You're going to be tired. Like, it's going to be a really, really hard game. But the Mavs are generating good looks. But tonight, if they want to win, they're going to have to make them.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. And also, man, I had a great point, and then I got distracted by the coffee.
You caught your coffee.
No, you go ahead, Kevin. I literally forgot. I swear to God I had something lined up.
Well, while you come up with that, Ardell, Super Chat Ardell makes an appearance on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. He's got a long one here. When does Luka adjust to not being blitzed? What are the countermeasures available? Kill them in the mid-range, potentially.
Yeah, I posted a tweet about this earlier today, actually, a video with a screenshot, and I meant to give it to you, Tanner, but I didn't. But basically this year, and we talked about it last night in the postgame show, through 3 games, opponents have only blitzed Luka 5 times all season. Damn. Last year, they blitzed him almost, based on how many games he played, more than 7, even 8 times per game just on pick and rolls. Luka was facing double teams. So this year, Luka is receiving a lot less ball pressure. You can thank Klay Thompson for that, which is objectively good, right? You don't want Luka double teamed, but it's an adjustment for the offense because the Mavs are used to playing 4-on-3 basketball. They're used to Luka making the right pass, feeling the double team coming, making it pass that's on time and on target to either Kyrie or to Lively who can pass, or to PJ who can pass a little bit. Last year's Josh Green who could pass, or Hardy. Like, somebody is going to have a really, really easy decision to make, and you're going to be able to get a really good shot out of it. This year, Luka is not getting double teamed, hardly at all. 5 times total through 3 games.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a lot of isolation, a lot of one-on-one. Teams are defending in much more of like they're kind of not quite face guarding Klay, but they're not leaving Klay open. Usually
they're a lot of open shots anyway.
Yeah, usually they're
so far.
All their best looks have come in transition though from 3. Like a lot of their half-court threes have been either late clock or off the dribble. So really the onus in those situations is on Luka and Kyrie to get past their man. Force help from somewhere. Or you can settle for like a 25-footer, but you better make it. You know? And you're not going to have the luxury of just a driving lane or a 4-on-3. You're going to have to make it yourself.
And the secret about the best scorers in the NBA? You can't play them man-to-man. You cannot play them with a single defender. It doesn't matter who the defender is. You can't do it. And that's why, even though Luka scored 40 points 2 nights ago, that's why I say Luka hasn't been at his best yet this season, because he hasn't made it so clear that defenses simply cannot guard him with just a player. And yes, it's a little bit more than just a player. There is some help. There's shading. There is packing the paint at times. But Luka has the ability, even when he was scoring 40 points against Phoenix, he has the ability to go score 60 points and completely torch the entirety of the game plan that whatever opponent, what opponents had coming in. Now, Luka doing that would change how defenses are guarding them. There's also just, and I made this prediction in the observation piece that I wrote last night after last night's win. There's going to be a game, I'm going to say within the next 5 games, Dallas is going to score 130 plus points. They're going to hit 22, 24, maybe 25 3-pointers. That's coming. That's going to happen. That is imminent, I would say. They're getting good enough looks from the perimeter, and their role players have not really stepped up yet, but will, that they're just going to go torch a team from behind the arc. That's another way that you can beat teams. It doesn't have to be Luka, going into total killer mode. I think both of those things are very likely to happen. It's not impossible that maybe both happen tonight, and this, even though it's the second night of it back-to-back and the third game in 4 nights, like, Dallas has the ability to go just run away with the game because their offense cannot be stopped. This is always going to be something on the table for Dallas. Just because we haven't seen it does not mean I don't believe that they are fully capable of it, and we're going to see it very soon.
Mavericks will face the Timberwolves 3 times this season. First matchup tonight. This is the only meeting in Minnesota. They'll see each other again, of course, on Christmas Day at the American Airlines Center, and then again in late January. Of course, the Timberwolves won the season series last year, 3-1. Interesting note about that, though. they didn't see the Mavericks after they had acquired PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. So the first time they saw them, we all know what happened in the Western Conference Finals when the Mavericks were able to take them out en route to the NBA Finals. So just a key note on that when you're looking at tonight's matchup. More here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show, including Bobby's scouting report. Also what Jason Kidd had to say about the guard rotation for tonight's game and if Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be that guy again going into tonight's game as we continue here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show.
Oh, there's none of that. There's no tear. I always think there's going to be a tear in the pregame, but there's not.
Nope.
All right. The tear has been anti-paywalled, which is exactly what happens to you whenever you go to alldlls.com/diehard. We are running a very, very limited time introductory offer.
He needs the coffee.
Becomes about $4 a month is what it pans out to become a diehard. Join our mighty community of diehards. We are Legion. We are everywhere. Whenever you join, you get to access the entire website, including all the post-game analysis from us here on this show. And
I'm going to go to the Discord right now.
You're going to go to the Discord. Oh, there's a diehard Discord as well?
Yeah.
He does have his phone right.
You get a free shirt whenever you sign up. You get a discount on all merch purchases. You get a discount on events. And a bunch of people just signed up today. So shout out to Tony, Chandler, Ian, Mark, Scooter, Laura, and Elliot.
Tomlin?
No.
No.
So shout out to y'all for becoming a diehard. And whenever you join, also you get access to the diehard Discord where we join in there every now and then during games, drop our notes, and we got everybody in every other beat talking about their team, and we got vibes, we got music recommendations, we got books, we got TV, all sorts of stuff. We're just hanging out online. So do that. Just go do that right now or after the game or whenever you want at your leisure. But do it soon because this is a limited time offer. I've received some information. I promise you this is not going to be around for long.
AllDLLS.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Limited time offer for just $4 a month. Do it now at AllDLLS.com/diehards. We continue.
Wow. Ben in the Discord says his prediction for tonight is, he hates to say it, but Mavs lose a close one. Ben.
We want positive
this?
vibes around here.
Ben. I thought more of you.
Just like we had last night as the Mavericks were able to take out the Utah Jazz. Let's hear from Jason Kidd real quick. Last night, Spencer Dinwiddie had a really effective third quarter, hitting 3 3-pointers, 11 points for the game, really sparked the Mavericks bench in that win against Utah. Jason Kidd speaking to the rotation tonight of the guards and how Spencer will be a part of tonight's rotation. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think he's mature, he's older. He's been with us before, so he understands what we're going to ask for him and for us to get him in the summer. He knew where he stood. Injuries, I played a part. And so just for, Spencer to be the pro that he is, he's ready. And he came into training camp ready, understanding his role was to be the backup to the backup. And so now he's taking full advantage of that. And again, we're going to need that tonight. And so as a coaching staff, yes, we are comfortable with Spencer out there. As you can see, he was the first one as a sub last night, and most likely will be that same substitution pattern again tonight.
So it looks like we'll see that same substitution pattern tonight for the Mavericks, with Spencer Dinwiddie being the first guard off the bench. Of course, the Mavericks last night with 33 points off the bench as well. Really got some nice support from that unit. Derek Lively dominating in that second unit as well was key to the Mavericks win. How does that land for you guys real quick before we get to Bobby's scouting report on the Timberwolves about Spencer Dinwiddie, again, being that first guard off the bench tonight for the Mavericks there?
I stand by what I said last night, that I think Quentin Grimes should be able to do everything that Spencer Dinwiddie does, but Quentin Grimes is not doing it, and Spencer Dinwiddie is, and so Spencer has earned the minutes. So long term, over the course of the season, I still expect Quentin Grimes to be the most productive, most impactful guard off the bench, but until that actually happens, then yeah, Dinwiddie has earned the minutes. And to be very clear, this is not a slight on Dinwiddie. I just think that Grimes is a more complete, younger, more interesting player. But Dinwiddie's going to serve a role this season. He is not as washed as he looked in preseason. I feel like if you go back and look, I told everybody, let's hold the horses. It's not time to completely panic and start putting somebody else into his roster spot. I was willing to consider it if it continued, but Dinwiddie is still a pretty solid player. I just don't expect him to, he's gonna be in this role until somebody else is better than him. And I do think that Quentin Grimes over the course of the season will be.
J-Kid rides the hot hand. So Dinwiddie goes out there and has a lousy game. Then on Thursday night, it'll probably be Hardy. Or, he just goes with whoever's playing well.
Yeah.
And, Stein said the other night they had 11 guys check into the game at some point during the first quarter.
That's right.
J-Kid's just trying everything. He's just, and that's generally what he does the first 20, 30 games of the season, sometimes to the detriment of that individual game. But, Dinwiddie was, the fifth guard last night, and it's a darn good thing that Kid did put him in the game because he was the only guy on the team that could make a shot for 3 quarters. So as long as he's hot, he'll play. If he cools off or starts making too many mistakes, it'll be somebody else. But I think it would be weird if he had such a good game last night and Kid was like, not tonight.
Yeah. I will say he lined up for that one corner three, and every single time over the course of this show's existence, all dozen times, I feel like a dozen times we brought up the fact that he's a 55% shooter from the corners over the past 2 seasons. And every single time that I said that, it was just echoing through my head, all those moments as he lined up that shot. Purest switch you've ever seen. Still a very good spot-up shooter.
Mavericks and Timberwolves injury report. No injury designations for the Timberwolves tonight. They are healthy and fully ready to go. Of course, Dante Exum remains out for the Mavericks with his right wrist surgery. Maxi Kleber remains out with his right hamstring strain. So the Mavericks mostly healthy going into tonight's game against Minnesota, which gets us to our scouting report from our guy Bobby Karalla on what he is looking for tonight as the Mavericks take on the Timberwolves.
A couple quick notes on the Wolves offense before we talk about or the Wolves defense before we talk about what the Mavs are going to do on defense. So no opponent of the Wolves this season in only 3 games has taken more than 30 threes in a game against them. Granted, one of those games against the Kings. Kings don't shoot a lot of threes. And the Raptors, who don't have a lot of shooters in general. But, man, Mavs want to take 40, 45, 50 of those bad boys. And the Wolves are really, really long. They're really, really good at getting out in your face, force you to put the ball on the floor, force you to make mistakes. So, you just can't get too comfortable against them. They're very good.
44. I ran the math. I forget if I said it on the show, but if Dallas was to realistically break the all-time record, like I made my prediction, they would need about 44 a game at and then I kind of plugged in a slightly better than last season clip. So
yeah, they need to.
I wonder. I'm going to track this. I'll see if the trends emerge, but I think 44 is a good number for them from 3.
The Wolves do not force a lot of turnovers. They play with Rudy on the floor. I mean, obviously you want him around the rim, so they play a relatively more conservative style of defense. However, Jaden McDaniels has done a really, really good job on Luka in the past. In regular season, he didn't really have much answer for him. And I'm not trying to dunk on him. In the regular season, that gym is like a house of horrors for the Mavs. They go in there and just completely fall apart. So, Ant and McDaniels are going to have their turns on Luka. I'm more interested in seeing what the Mavs do on defense. So, number 1, the Wolves. They shoot a ton of threes. I don't know what happened over the summer. More than half of their field goal attempts this year have been 3 so far. Kevin, you pointed out Ant Edwards has taken more than 13 of them per game. Dante DiVincenzo takes 8 per game, so they take about 22 combined per game. However, Dante, Conley, and McDaniels are all 28% or worse to start the season. So they shoot a lot. They also miss a lot. But the main
that won't hold true for a lot of these guys.
Well, yeah, but they're off to a cold start, but they're still shooting a S ton of threes. And then Julius Randle, that's the guy. He's like the all-time Mavs arch nemesis, Julius Randle. Now, this game is being played on the road, not here, fortunately. But earlier this season, the Wolves played the Kings, whose power forward is like Keegan Murray, I guess, or DeMar DeRozan.
And he cooked it for 35?
Yeah, Randle
had
33 points on 17 shots.
Yeah.
If you don't have size, if you cannot match his physicality, you can't match his strength, you can't match his height, you're doomed. So Maxi's out. PJ Washington, I'm looking at you, bud. Omax, Najee. Man, Najee, I don't know if he's tall enough. He's certainly feisty enough. He's thick enough, strong enough. So I don't know which of those guys. I'm sure they're all going to get to take their turn on him. I would say the only player on the team that can really match Randle blow for blow would be Gafford, but then Randle could drag him out. I mean, I'm down to put a wing on Gobert, switch the pick and roll, and then put Gafford on Randle. Or maybe even Lively on Randle, but then Randle can handle the ball, and he's going to put you in pick and rolls with Gobert. It's pretty dicey. So I'm much less worried about the Mavs' prospects of stopping Ant, Who, by the way, if PJ Washington guards Randle, then who in God's name is guarding Ant?
That's a great question.
That's
yeah.
how worried I am about their matchup against Julius tonight.
Julius Randle averaging 24.3 points per game while shooting nearly 63% from the field and 54% from three so far in the first three games of the year.
Would you take the over, or would you go more or less on his points average
For Randle?
For Randle, yeah, tonight.
Randle and sleepers 21.5 points, Kevin.
21.5. Would you go more
You
or
go
less?
more or
than that?
less than that?
I can't push, so I guess I'll go over.
You can't push.
Yeah.
Why can't you push?
I was going to say 21 would be right at 21, whatever the...
What would a half?
Ooh.
What would
Yeah.
a half point, a half bucket in the NBA be?
He and Randle
like
this
a rim
year.
out.
Randle this year is shooting better than 50% from three.
Yeah,
and he's taken
yeah.
I think 5 a
So
game.
who's mostly going to be guarding him? PJ, right?
I mean,
I don't think
But
he
it's
would
gonna be
take
a
the
little bit of
initial
everything.
turn on him to start off
Were
with.
you one thing we didn't talk about last night from last night's game? Were you surprised that they really did switch just about everything with Lively?
yeah,
Lively,
no, it was
Lively-
great.
That
Yeah.
that was the
It was
most.
awesome.
I think for the course of an entire game, excluding the playoffs, that was the most Lively has ever switched.
Yeah, he switched a lot on Clarkson and held his own. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
tonight
really
you
impressed
got
with
to
him.
you got to put PJ on maybe. I mean, honestly, dude, like if this is me, all right, pull out your bongs. Let's talk. Can I say that?
It's been said.
It's not one
Okay.
of the 7 words.
I'm putting.
It's been said.
I'm putting.
there is a B word you should not say. But
putting
I think that one's
Gafford on Randall. I'm putting PJ on Ant.
Ooh.
I'm putting Klay Thompson on Rudy Gobert. Saying if you
Oh,
want to run a pick
wow.
and roll, hey buddy,
Oh, wow.
you're gonna have to switch on to. You're gonna have to
Interesting.
switch
That
on to
is
Klay.
interesting.
And I'm saying,
I like
and then you make subs and everything changes. But that's what I'm doing. at
I
the
like
start
it a
of the
lot. I'm into that. I mean,
Okay.
let
Let's
him
make
do
sure
his
we pay attention to that tonight. I'm interested to see if that's what they do.
That's what I'm doing.
let him do his little post up stuff from 7 feet, and that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he's gonna make a few, but if you want to be a real nerd and run the math on what the expected points per a Rudy Gobert turning hook is,
Yeah, I'll take the. I
I'll
might
take
the
that
odds.
over
Yeah.
a Dante DiVincenzo corner three.
By the way, Anthony Edwards, we mentioned taking 13.3 3-pointers per game so far this year. That is by far the most in his career. In fact, that's more than double from last year. And so far, he's shooting 37.5% from downtown.
Wait, this is Randall?
No, this is Anthony Edwards.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Over 13 threes per game. Again, more than double what he was last year. And he's shooting 37.5% from three. Overall, though, he's only shooting about 41% from the field so far for the first few games. So more volume from three, but not necessarily great in terms of overall field goal percentage when it comes to Anthony Edwards. So
He had that ghastly game in the season opener in LA.
Yeah, against
he just
Los
couldn't buy a
Angeles.
bucket.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think he's gonna have to take a bunch of perimeter jump shots because with Gobert and Randall on the floor so much, obviously when Nas comes in, kind of the geometry changes. But with that starting group together, there's not a lot of space underneath.
Yeah.
So Ant does kind of have to. He's got to take a lot of jumpers.
yeah,
I kind of this is kind of a vibes take more than like an actual take, or like I don't really have a lot of evidence to support it, but I don't love that Edwards just decided to double his 3-point volume. It feels like he's skipping steps. Like he is on his way. The fact, like, if he just decides to become a prolific quantity volume shooter and doesn't continue filling out what he's best at, which is inside the paint or inside the rim, inside the arc. Inside the arc. That's the one I'm going for.
Yeah.
It feels like, and again, just vibes. This is total vibes, but it feels a little bit like he's skipping steps and that he will max out not quite as the most lethal version of the offensive player that he could be.
Well, I won't mind if Anthony Edwards goes 2 of 13 from the 3-point line. I won't mind that
That'd be
one
sick.
bit.
He's taking at least 12 a game too.
It's wild.
Every single
Yeah,
game. It's not like he
like-
one game he took like 18.
No,
Yeah, no.
he's jacking them up. Like
Yeah.
he is getting
I really
the 3-point shots up.
I really think that's, and again, I'm probably going to be totally wrong. I kind of
Hey, it's the way of the new NBA world. Take a bunch of threes all the
think that
time.
it might be a negative thing for his development. I really do.
Well, hopefully that continues tonight as the Mavericks take on the Timberwolves. It is a Western Conference Finals rematch as the Mavericks look to make it 2 in a row on the second night of a home road back-to-back and stop the Minnesota Timberwolves 2-game winning streak for themselves. We'll be back here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show 15 minutes after the final buzzer. So make sure you come back with us here on DLLS Sports. Like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. Again, the post-game show will be 15 minutes after the final buzzer between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves. And our guy Mark Stein will be joining us live in studio for the post-game show as well. Enjoy the basketball tonight as the Mavericks take on the Timberwolves. For Bobby, Tim, and Kevin, we're DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you after the game between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves. Y'all be good. Peace.
like the mayor.